Hi, guys. All right, let's take a peek. Aries. Obviously, we are doing a little adventure series, just kind of a fun little thing to do in honor of Halloween. Also, time for costumes. So we have got a Three of Cups in the reverse, but a Six of Wands upright and a Two of Swords upright. It looks like Aries' next adventure is one that they're going on a little bit solo. I don't know if Aries is like getting rid of some old party lifestyle or a person that was possibly always out partying, but it feels like Aries is saying, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm blocking them, or I'm blocking that lifestyle, or I'm blocking that person. But it feels like Aries is totally taking charge of the life that they want. And that means they're also taking charge of their time. They're not sharing their time and energy with somebody that they don't want to anymore. And they're bringing in a Two of Cups. Okay, so hang on. I could also read this in the reverse. This could be someone that Aries loves is the one that is putting an end to their party ways so that they can be with Aries. We see a divine connection that is way more important than all the nightlife in Rio. This feels like love is winning this time. It's not about like, oh, how many different people are there out there to date and have fun with. It feels like I found my person. Four of Cups, Queen of Wands. Look, Aries is coming across as a very sought after, very beautiful, very attractive. Sorry, I have to cover her up because she got no clothes on. Um, this is definitely somebody that's got a really nice future ahead. With that Four of Cups, though, it's almost something that Aries thought for the longest time that doesn't really exist. That kind of love story doesn't exist. That kind of romance doesn't exist, but it does. And this is Aries having it, welcoming it, bringing it into their own life. Is this somebody who feels so thrilled that they've met Aries? Is that what this is? Because it's still, that Queen of Wands is upright. The Two of Cups is upright, but so also is the Four of Cups. I almost wonder if Aries is not the person that is so positive that this is going to work, but rather it's them. In which case, I would read that blockage a little bit differently. This could be somebody's like, oh my God, I met this amazing Aries. My dating days are over. I've met the person that I want. And Aries is just like, okay, yeah, I know. They're real thrilled about me right now. But you know what? I'm not going to put all my eggs in this basket and assume this is going to work out great. Look, if Aries does not know what a great bod they've got, I have to say Aries is coming across as a very lovely physique. It's exactly what this person likes, in physical body shape. I don't know if Aries has like a cute butt or something, but Nine of Swords, Aries' more nonchalant energy seems to be throwing this person into greater stress. I don't see Aries in a world of stress. I see Aries in a world, I don't know if Aries has been like an artist model before, or if they are somebody who like is just very body confident. But when it comes to matters of love, they're very artistic also. Aries' next adventure could be, like, oh, I was planning on doing, some art modeling. I was planning on, doing something that, heck, I was planning on moving to a nudist colony. Or I was, the Aries could be doing something that's just a little bit out of the ordinary, a little bit different, and they're just very comfortable in that. But we have them kind of dismissing. Aries is kind of dismissing the idea that there's somebody who's like fallen head over heels in love with them. And yet it's a Two of Cups. An Eight of Cups, a Ten of Swords. Okay, so is this somebody that Aries meets like on a brief vacation? We could have Aries like on the cusp of meeting this person, having an adventure in, like physical chemistry. And then Aries is like, yes, but I mean, of course I have to leave. I'm going back home. This was just a brief vacation. I was only in town for the holidays. Let me tell you, that is very sad, very unhappy for this other individual. They're determined not to let Aries slip through their fingers, though. But I don't know if Aries has ever been so pursued. We definitely see Aries meeting this person while they're on an adventure. And this adventure could be something where Aries is like, oh, I'm in town for an art exhibit, or I came to see, some kind of, let's say, statues or something, or I came to see some kind of, particular thing while I was in town. That's what brought me here. But of course, I'm not staying. I don't even live here. And Aries is just taking this as like a one and done. We had a good time, but even if somebody says that they feel like they're really connected to me, I don't take it all that serious. And yet that is devastating for this individual who is very head over heels. They feel like they met the one when they meet Aries. So let me ask this, universe, in what way is this the next adventure for Aries? Is it an adventure in being loved like this, or having somebody who wants to pursue things? Is that the way I should look at this? Six of coins. Okay, so maybe the reason Aries doesn't exactly like get all convinced that, oh, this is going to work and this is the love of my life, maybe it's because Aries hasn't had somebody who felt that exact same way about them. And so Aries has learned to play their cards a little closer, not try to hope for a beautiful outcome, but rather just say, oh yeah, you meet somebody, you have a nice time together, but you don't assume that it's going to last forever. It's going to be this life changing, because we spent one night together and we met well, on a vacation, that now it's going to change our entire life. I think Aries is like more of a realist, but the adventure is Aries has met somebody who they know what they're looking for. They know when they meet somebody special. They have a very true heart. They don't let people in easily. This is somebody who is going to probably shock Aries with how very serious they are. I do think that it's a bit of like love at first sight, and I think it's Aries pushing this away. I think that something about Aries lifts them up, because I'm hearing that song, Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong, where the eagles fly and the mountains high. Joe Cocker and somebody, I can't think, I can hear her voice really, really well, but I can't think of her name right now. Great song. To have the wings on the heart and the wings for the two of them, I would say this is a very divine love. And it is very uplifting, even though this person's freaking out. I'm telling you, the next adventure for Aries is one of true companionship, partnership, love story, and lasting love story. And again, it's a divine counterpart, but this time it's legit. Let me just ask, did Aries have some other partnership that they thought all this about and then it turned out not to be true? Is that why we have Aries being, yeah, 10 of Cups sideways? Aries is like, I don't want to believe in fantasies or fairy tales, because when they don't come true, or when you think that it could, and you think something's different, and you think that this one means something else, and this really is rocking your world, that's especially when I want to keep my expectations almost flatlined, because the worst thing to do is to believe that you're going to have the 10 of Cups and get yourself hoping for something so unusual. So Aries is fighting this tooth and nail, because they don't want to go down the road of believing in a fantasy if it's not going to turn out to be amazing. Aries is fighting this. The Sun and the 10 of Swords. Aries is like, it's too much to believe that you meet somebody, you feel the feels, they feel the feels, you both convey that to each other, and then it doesn't work out. It's too much of a crash to go from the happiest moment and the happiest connection ever to then having it end. And so I would rather not, acknowledge that something could be that wonderful, because then the crash when it's not is too devastating. Okay, that is totally understandable. But in this story, all I can say is, based off the cards we've been getting, it really looks like this person is crazy about Aries. Universe, do you have something to say about them? Something to convey to Aries about them? 6 of Cups, 10 of Wands. This might be a soulmate. This might be somebody from like a past life, or it's somebody who's really vibing in the same energy. It's somebody who they too have had the same, I put all my peaches in one basket, and then the basket, rotted, or they didn't want what I gave, and I did it a whole bunch of times. But I'm, not every soulmate will turn into the one that we stay with, but the universe is just saying this character seems to be brave enough to try it again and try to give the best of themselves and try to build the connection because they really feel a connection with Aries. Of course, there's no guarantees in life, but it just says the thing about this person is if they're vibing with Aries, and this is, soulmates they're still pretty rare, the I always look at soulmates as like the group that we reincarnate with. And so, there's probably more than one, but again, it's rare to find them at all. And this just is like, yes, it's rare to find them at all. And they're in a place where they're brave enough to try this again. And they haven't had great outcomes either, but they're not going to push away a chance to acknowledge that I'm really vibing with this Aries. I feel like we're soulmates and I've got to know what happens with us. I've got to know if this could become something. We have a Seven of Wands. We have a Queen of Swords. I mean, in the most gentle of ways, it's just saying that Aries seems to be the person that is producing some blockages and trying their best to scare away love or scare away the crows or spit out the sweet words instead of like, and keep boundaries really high instead of just testing the waters and seeing, let's see if this person's interest in me stays consistent and matches with what they're saying over time. It feels like this is a very big protective mechanism Aries has built around themselves to try to say, if somebody says, especially that they're crazy about me, then I know they're tripping. Then I know I'm not going to take them very serious, especially because it feels really good to hear it. But I'm going to act like it's just for one night that they mean it, because it's too disappointing to hear those words and then have it turn out that they lose interest. So I'd rather have a great time with somebody, fine, let them adore me for whatever, a night, a weekend, or whatever, but then I'm still going to leave in the morning. Better than sticking around and having the thrill fade and then it's a big, huge emotional crash. But I kind of think that the adventure this time is for Aries to give love a chance to blossom again. I mean, I know they've done it before, which is why they're kind of like determined that I'm not going to get caught up in something that isn't real, because I've been there before and it didn't turn out to be real. I completely understand why our Aries would be, operating to kind of like protect their heart or preserve themselves. But this whole story keeps saying, but right now Aries is actually pushing something away, letting somebody like lust after them, but not necessarily letting somebody love them, even though this person is already, like trying to offer loving emotions. But that's especially where Aries is like, forget that, because you're going to change your mind in about 48 hours. But then I will have started to believe that you loved me, and I don't want the crash of finding out that it was just words, just lip service from you. What is the best advice then to Aries on this adventure? The Devil, the Tower, Capricorn, and Aries. I mean, it is saying to let down fears, let go of fears, and just be present. I mean, the Devil is fear, the Tower is Aries, and is also dropping some kind of like force field, Knight of Cups. Instead of when we hear music that we like, instead of like plugging our ears and saying, that's such beautiful music, I definitely don't want to listen to that. That's the equivalent of blocking out love. And it's like, why do that? Why ever block out anything good? At least don't be scared to let yourself listen to beautiful music. Don't be scared to let yourself at least test the waters, but know that's what it is. The knights are not kings and queens and emperors and empresses. The knights are still journeying. And if getting to know somebody and deciding, if the emotions are sincere, or deciding, could this become love? It's like, it's a journey to figuring that out. And then it's maybe a little bit less scary, because it's like, okay, I don't have to think of it as they said they loved me, but now they were just lying. They're full of crap. Instead, it's like, they're saying that I'm somebody who they really would like to see what we could develop and see where this goes, because they have a lot more attraction for me and emotion for me than they do for other people. let me work off of that assumption and let me just see where this thing goes. Let's see if I develop more feelings. Let's see if we strengthen this. But let's not plug our ears and refuse to listen to any of the beautiful music, um, and deny ourselves even a chance. I think that's maybe the way I would look at that message. Um, I know this is a big adventure in basically Aries opening up their heart to somebody, especially when it looks like there's somebody there that really wants or will want Aries to open up. Does Aries know this person at all? Because that's one thing we didn't look at, is maybe Aries knows this person. They're like, that's why I don't want to trust him. We have the Fool. This is somebody who could also be an Aries, but they could be taking a big leap of faith. Nine of Cups. This feels like a new person that Aries might meet very serendipitously. They could be going to a quick little, like whatever, having a glass of wine with friends, and they randomly meet this person who randomly comes up and says, I know you're here with friends, but if after your friends leave, do you want to stay and have one glass of wine with me? I'll wait. It could be something like that. And this just says, Aries, don't say no. Don't say no. If this person's brave enough to, walk up and say, I'd like to get to know you, instead of being like, oh, this would just be a huge disappointment. Forget it. I think this is somebody who's got the, I don't think they do this very often either, but they've got the gumption to go ahead and say, I definitely would like to spend a little time getting to know this Aries if they're, agreeable to it. This feels like a new person. It doesn't feel like somebody from the past. Maybe that's why this whole situation could go so differently. Maybe that's why this is all centered around like the adventure. Because I feel like we're dealing with a very specific kind of Aries in this story, where this is an Aries who said, I don't want anybody because I don't want to get disappointed in love again. And I think it's totally understandable. It just says, again, it's a journey to figure out if there could be love. And maybe that's a better way to look at it. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Lots of love. Bye.